Good morning. Good morning. I am happy to be here today talking with Caitlyn. Caitlyn is the founder of KidStar Nutrients. I'm going to be bringing her on in a minute, and today we're going to be talking all about iron supplementing in kids. So a lot of people don't know that iron is actually one of the most overlooked nutrients that is lacking in a lot of people who have ADHD. And I'm going to try and bring Caitlyn on here, and hopefully I did the first time. Oh, there we go.
Yay!
Time's the charm.
I was like, I know it's there.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So happy to see you again, Caitlyn.
Likewise.
And your new hairdo. I see you cut off your hair for charity a while ago.
Yes, I'm still getting used to it. I'm like, it's all gone. 12 inches from me and 14 inches from someone else in the office. So it was a lot of hair we nailed out.
Nice. That's great. That's
Thanks.
great. People who do that are brave.
When we did it, we were like, oh, wow. It's, you feel a little lighter.
Yeah. It is a weird sensation to get a haircut. Okay, so I wanted to talk all about iron today because I tell people all the time, because it's true, iron is one of the big nutrients that is often lacking in ADHD, and people don't really associate iron with behavioral issues. We kind of think of it as more of a like physical symptom, nutrient problem.
But it's huge.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe you can tell us some symptoms of iron deficiency, and I can tell you some behavior symptoms of iron
Yes.
deficiency.
Oh my goodness. It's so true. And, as parents, it's sometimes hard to see nutrient deficiencies, obviously, and the big ones become the behaviors. So you see the behaviors, but at that point, we've already gotten deficient. So we really want to catch the subtle ones before the behavior starts to happen. So, the easiest one is pulling down your eyelid, making sure it's bright pink in there. If it's pale, that's a sign of iron deficiency. Dark under eye circles, sleep issues, low appetite, tired all the time during the day. You can even actually be hyperactive. It's more like a burst of energy and then it dies off. The same things happen to kids that happen to adults. When you stand up and you're lightheaded or you kind of like get that winded feel, that happens to kids too. So it does go for both adults and children. And the list really goes on, thin, brittle fingernails, thin, wispy hair. Women seem to lose their hair. Kids, it doesn't grow in very thick. You have the kids where you can see their scalp because it's just thin and airy. The list really does just keep going. As you've said, it's the number one nutrient deficiency globally. It's 30% iron deficiency globally is the percentage. And that's not including the anemic kids. So that's huge.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And I think a lot of people just think it's like being pale, being tired, and kind of like not being able to keep up with other people is the main thing. But there are so many more symptoms. My daughter had the wispy hair thing going on where she had baby hair forever. And I was like, what is the matter with this kid's hair? And yeah, sure enough, once we started with iron, it grew in. It's still not a lion's mane, but it's it's noticeably thicker, and and people don't associate behavior issues with iron at all. But they have done studies, and you may be familiar with. They did a large study where they measured iron deficiency and compared it to behavioral issues in kids with ADHD, and the kids with the iron deficiencies had worse symptoms, and the symptoms were how do you say, like the more severe the deficiency, the more severe the symptoms were of hyperactivity, inattention, and impulsivity. So it's directly linked to these behaviors that people need help with, and nobody tells them to take iron. They just say take omegas and take magnesium. It's not just omegas and magnesium.
It's so true though. We have to remember that restless legs actually is iron and magnesium. So it could be one or the other. And if you're not sleeping because you have restless legs or because of other things are going on, then the next day you're not going to be able to deal with the behaviors you do have because you're already tired.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
It is shocking though, because when we start to look at behaviors, and I feel like when you get into school and the teachers start noticing different behaviors, and the principal and other parents, let's say, the number one thing is they start thinking about classifying that behavior. But
Yeah.
if we're not going to look at the baseline of how are they doing nutrient wise? Do they have any deficiencies that could be making these behaviors worse? You know, we have to start there first, and then we should go to the next levels to, you know, make sure we filled in the gaps first, and then we move on.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of parents go to medicine first, which can decrease appetite further.
Yes, I know when you read the it's so true. And you know, I have a lot of friends whose kids are very picky eaters. My kids are picky eaters, but I didn't realize early on that some of those picky eaters were actually just iron deficient.
Yeah.
So they weren't just being selective and not wanting to eat. They actually had a reduced appetite because they were iron deficient. So it was a twofold, you know, they didn't really want to eat that food, but they also really weren't hungry. So, you know, getting the iron levels up helps us, you know, to also eat a lot
That's
more.
another one that we had too. My other child was like, she still is a light eater, but now that we use the iron every day, she eats like a significant amount more. I'd say like probably 20% more than what she was eating before. So, yeah, and that's another one. Like, it's weird. Like, iron kind of gets forgotten because we think low appetite is linked to low zinc as well. And people are always asking me, she doesn't eat anything. Should I give her zinc? And I'm like, well, depends.
Depends what is she actually eating. And you're right, it's true. So that's why, you know, a great multivitamin with iron is a nice basis. You know, all the kids are going to get a little bit of everything. That's what a multivitamin is. It is a little bit of everything to help fill in the gaps. And then from there, we look at, okay, what are they eating over the week and where are we missing out? And you know what? The battle of dinner time is a battle sometimes. And you know what? I don't need to win that battle every night. I just, you know, I look at it over a week, and then where we're missing things, I do supplement because I'm like, you know what? It's just something that I don't need to fight with my kids about.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to pick your battles, right? I mean,
yes.
Every single meal, every single day is the
bedtime, mealtime, school time. You're like, no, we're just going to calm it all down and do what we need to do.
And a lot of kids who are pickier are not eating iron-rich foods. So like the iron-rich foods are like red meat and organ meat are obviously the biggest ones. A lot of picky eaters don't eat meat a lot of the time. A lot of picky eaters won't eat shellfish, which is another source of high iron. And even the plant-based ones like pumpkin seeds, quinoa, what am I? I'm trying
your
to
spinach, dark greens. Oh yes.
Kids don't really like those. They're not favorites, right? It's not like strawberries or apples or
I know. Too bad the fruit family really should have more iron in it, and we'd all be doing better.
Yeah. So then you get that increased risk with picky eating as well too, because they're not going for beef on a stick. They're going for goldfish crackers, right?
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, and you know, the texture of meat products, a lot of kids don't like, or it's not small enough. You know, if they don't really have to taste it, they might do it, but that's really about it. If you can't hide it in something, most kids are really, you know, it's not their favorite. I have one daughter who loves red meat, and I have one daughter who will not touch it. Yeah. So, you know, we thought we were doing great because she liked asparagus. Yeah. You know, we're like, this is amazing. She loves asparagus. And then we find out later, like, oh, yes, that's, you know, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah. Can't live on asparagus alone.
No.
Apparently, you can live on meat alone. There's people that do that now.
Yes. There's much more happening. It's very true.
Carnivore diet. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, a lot of people ask me this question, like almost everybody, like literally probably everybody I've ever recommended iron to says, their levels are normal. The doctor says they have enough iron. They check the ferritin. That level is good. Should I still supplement? Isn't that dangerous? Won't the iron build up in their body and kill them or something?
Right. No, it's true. You know, we get it a lot here at the office as well. Yeah. So number one is get your numbers. So yes, the doctor may say it's good, but it could be low good, or it could be better. So really number one is get your results, because that's huge. Also, I do find that the pediatricians who specialize in behavior issues and nutrient deficiencies do have different levels than the general practitioners, just because they see different things, right? So it's just a different way of looking at blood results. But, you know, we were told, you know, kids need to have a ferritin around 50, and anything under 30, the behavioral symptoms come up. So, you know, if you're being told it's okay, it may be okay, but it could be better, and your
Yeah.
behavioral symptoms could improve with an improved ferritin and hemoglobin. And of course, if you're only getting your hemoglobin tested, that's only one side of it. That's your everyday
Yeah.
iron usage. So if that one drops, it's your anemic level, because that's your daily usage. The ferritin is the stored iron, which is really important because the two work together. The other part is, iron products in the health food store are maintenance doses.
Okay.
That's what you should be getting every day from the food. If you are not eating iron-rich foods, you do need to supplement. And so those levels are, the low maintenance levels. When you go to the pediatrician or the general practitioner and you have low iron, it's a significantly higher daily dose that they have given to you, because they're going to monitor you for, let's say, 3 to 6 months. And that way you know that you're not going to get too much iron, because you are being monitored at that high dosage.
Yeah. Like after you have a baby and they give
Yes.
you like a big orphan pill to take.
Yeah, we've come a long way from that one, so we're good now. We have lots of options for moms.
Well, that's good, because it's not pleasant to take that.
No.
So I know your products have 10, is it 10? Is that the daily dose? I think is 10 for your,
right.
Is it that for all of your BioFair products?
No. Yes. So we have an infant dosage. So 0 months to 6 months is actually, I believe it's 15 to 20 milligrams a day of iron. And then from there, it goes 10 milligrams for, I think it's 6 months to 4 years. And then 15 milligrams, you can take 10 to 15 milligrams a day from 6 months and up. And then for adults, you can take 15, and pregnancy is 30.
Okay.
So it'd be two servings of that particular product. So there is a different range. Also, the iron chewable comes as low as 5 milligrams of elemental iron. Yeah. That one's nice. You can add it to your multivitamin, so you know exactly how much iron your kids are getting if you're going to top up the multivitamin. Also, it's just nice if you have to take extra iron, you know exactly how much you're dosing out every day.
Yeah. That's the one we like, the chewable one. It's just really sweet and like very mild flavored. Yeah.
It's nice and easy to take.
Yeah. So you can comment below. I meant to say, if anyone's watching live and they have questions about it, or if you watch later, most people watch later, you can just put questions below and one of us will answer you. Whoever's better qualified to answer will answer. Now, what were my other questions? Go ahead.
I was going to say also a big one is digestive issues. So that's a big reason for being iron deficient. And this goes for adults too, and for seniors. So IBS, Crohn's, colitis, any of the digestive issues where you could potentially be losing blood every time you're going to the washroom, that's losing iron. And also, if you have too fast of a transit system happening through your digestive tract, then none of the nutrients are being absorbed the way they should be absorbed, which is huge. So we really should pay attention to our kids, ourselves, and the grandparents to make sure everyone's okay in the bathroom front.
Yeah. And that's another big reason just for supplementing in general, because our digestion these days is really like not good. It's quite unusual. Even without symptoms, nobody's really absorbing things perfectly. Nobody's digesting their food 100% amazingly well. So even if you're like really watching and, I eat exactly this many milligrams of iron a day, you're probably not absorbing it unless you're like unless you're like a really healthy guy like David.
Exactly. I know. I was going to say it's the men that are not super athletes are probably the only ones in the perfect iron realm. They've got everything's more on their side. The more you exercise, even with kids, if you're doing hockey 4 days a week or ballet or swimming, the more you sweat, the more iron you lose. So we need to make sure that we're topping up that glass every day. Our teenage girls, if you start with on the lower end of normal and then you go through menstruation, well, depending on how your first few cycles are, you could already be getting into the low iron range. So we should pay attention to our teenage girls as well.
Yeah. And as soon as they start menstruating, I think the iron RDI, like the recommended daily intake, I think it doubles. It
increases. Yeah, I think it goes from 10 to 15 for food. But yes, and then, if you have 2 heavy cycles right there, trying to, get back in the right zone, it's going to be really hard with food alone, unless you're eating the really red, bloody meats, which are very yummy. But yeah,
I suppose there are people that like liver.
I know. I was talking to someone about that and I was like, when we were little, our mom made sure that there was, livers and this and, very paying attention. And then when I had my kids, I was like, I didn't even want to cook it. So it was really difficult to be like, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to give this to my kids. But no, it didn't happen. So sadly, we didn't get on the liver train early.
Yeah, probably not the worst thing in the world to not eat liver. But the other thing too is just talking about absorption and digestion. I'm super cautious when I recommend people go on iron to tell them like only take these certain types because the other ones are not absorbed well. So you're not getting the benefit. And also they're going to cause issues like constipation and bloating and pain in the stomach. Mm-hmm. So you can tell us maybe the best form to take of iron.
Yeah, no, we always recommend a micronized and microencapsulated iron. That way the iron is ground really fine and then it's coated. And that protective coating prevents you from having the stained teeth. It prevents from the metallic taste in your mouth. And then when it goes through the digestive system, it doesn't get lost in the stomach. It actually goes to the small intestine where it is supposed to be absorbed, which is the most important part. So that would be like an iron pyrophosphate. That's huge because making sure that you will take it every day and it doesn't cause any nasty side effects is huge because we want compliance. If you're not going to take the product, it's not going to work either way. And constipation is huge. We hear that a lot from parents. Either the child was on a different type of iron and they're constipated and they don't want to take it. And same with pregnant women, you're already pregnant. You're already going through all these things, add constipation from your iron supplement is not fun. So we always say micronized, microencapsulated. It's going to taste great and it's going to work.
Yeah, it does taste normal. I know I've bought various iron supplements over the years for the kids and for myself. And one of them did turn my daughter's completely gray. Like she looked like she was from a Dickens novel. It was just so embarrassing. I had to baking soda her teeth for a minute. And then the taste, it tastes like you swallowed a penny or something.
Yes. No, it's actually really common, but thankfully we've come a long way. And now we have some awesome options out there. And on the absorption front, there are foods that can hinder the absorption of iron at the same time, calcium. And that's cheese, certain chocolates, obviously dairy chocolate, and cow's milk are huge, or goat's milk. So we really should pay attention to how much dairy the kids are eating in comparison to the iron-rich foods. And if possible, serve them away from each other.
Yeah, that's true. And then so iron, for those who don't know, it's blocked out by calcium, and it's like vitamin C will actually help it get absorbed. So eating iron things or supplements away from milk and eating them close together with fruits and veggies is the better way to go about it. The other thing I was just going to say about the dairy, as this is what I see with a lot of younger kids who are still drinking milk out of a bottle. They're drinking you're only supposed to, I think the maximum they recommend is 4 cups a day. But I think that's too much even.
Yeah, because I think
for a toddler.
You're right. Because I think it's
block out
any milk. They don't recommend any cow's milk before 12 months.
Yeah.
Mainly for that reason. Also, you don't want them to get full on the cow's milk and not other things. And then you're right, when they get over 12 months, it might even be 2 cups. I can't remember. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot. And and you get full on cow's milk. It does. It fills you up. So at that point too, you're not going to want to be eating other iron-rich foods either because you're full.
And a lot of parents are serving the milk with the food, right? They're saying, here's dinner and here's your milk on the side. And it's you've canceled the one. The calcium will always get absorbed better. It's just, that's just our body's work. So people get very, very paranoid about calcium deficiencies.
We get a lot of calcium.
If I tell them to avoid dairy, they're like, well, then where will she get her calcium? It's not the only calcium-rich food. But, I think because of the milk campaign with the mustaches,
they did amazing.
That was
great marketing.
Everybody wants their kids having milk all the time. And we forget that sometimes that's not the best thing. And milk can cause a lot of digestive issues too, right? A large percentage of people are lactose intolerant, and that's going to cause things like diarrhea. That's going to decrease absorption, like you said earlier. So, it's a really holistic approach here to
it is. I know. And it's really important too. So with iron, when you have low iron, actually the heavy metals in our bodies can take over. So the iron actually pushes out heavy metals, which is awesome. Because, anything grown in soil does have heavy metals. Yeah. It's natural. That's the way it is. So of course we need to be paying attention to the nutrient balances in our body as well to ensure that we don't have heavy metals take over in our systems.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's a big one too, especially with autism. I know a lot of people, I'm not an autism expert, but I know there's studies and a lot of naturopaths try and do heavy metal detoxes with kids with autism. So
yeah, no, it's huge. And, you know, pica is also a big one too, where kids eat things that are non-food items. Yeah. And that's because of a big one is iron deficiency.
Yeah.
So, you know, if your kid's eating things that don't quite seem like they should be chewing on, you know, that's a big red flag. Head to the doctor. And, you know, what we're big fans of iron testing. You know, if you are hitting 3 or 4 markers on the checklists, go and get your iron test. Yeah. Because a maintenance dose is not going to do anything for you. You have to get the higher dosage to treat your iron problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And doctors they're quite willing to give tests.
Oh, yeah.
If you go with symptoms of iron deficiency, like they want to make sure you're not deficient, and it's,
yes,
you know, it must be a cheap test because doctors just freely prescribe them, whatever it's called, write a thing for them. Well, and yeah, I forgot to mention that pica one because that's a big one that I see, especially it includes ice. Yes. So kids that chew on dirt, they'll sometimes like eat actual dirt or mud, but if kids are really chewing a lot on ice, like more than you think is normal, not just
I know I always forget about the ice. And you're right, because even women, like we noticed pregnant women seem to be the ice chewers, and it's the same thing with them as well. You know, they need to get checked at the same time.
Yeah. And I've had a few clients actually say that their kids stopped chewing on ice after taking iron for a couple months because of, you know, the levels went up and that compulsion or whatever it is. It's a very strange symptom to have of a vitamin.
It is.
That it goes away. So, yeah.
No, it's very important. And, you know, the good thing is that if your child is getting an iron test, you know, at the same time, the doctor can test for a multitude of things because they're already there. So, you know, we had heavy metals done at the same time. We had zinc and copper done to make sure everything was in the right spot. You can do vitamin D at the same time. It's awesome. So if you're already going there, I would say, you know, what can we look at since we're doing this? Yeah. And make sure you get that doctor to tick off as many boxes they think is necessary, because, you know, you want to get it all done at the same time. And then if you're doing it every 6 months or a year, you're going to have great baseline to move forward with your kids.
Yeah. And doctors, like, you sometimes have to be pretty assertive with doctors. You have to say, like you said, what else can we test for? Like, we should test for this. You know, just do your research on other common deficiencies like vitamin D, like you said, is huge, especially in Canada in winter. Yeah, because sometimes you have to speak up for your
you do
for your health care.
Yeah. But you know, to them it's no different. You know, they at the same time they're like, okay, great. When these all come back, we can look at everything, and then we can go from there. And then either you need to go see a specialist or you don't. You know, it's a great baseline.
Yeah, and you can keep an eye on things. It's good to know. Good to know where you stand, right?
Yeah. Same with adults. You know, I know a lot of women that are like, oh, I haven't had a blood test in like 4 years, but I'm really tired. And I'm like, go and do it. There's nothing holding you back. Not in Canada, at least.
It's true. Yeah. And most of people, you know, a lot of people in the States have insurance that they're able to do the same thing, right?
Yeah. And we did find a really cool stat is that, not a stat, but information. So in the States, between 9 months and 18 months, iron is actually a routine test for kids. So you would actually find out at a very early age if you were low in iron. So we don't have that in Canada. We normally wait till there's a reason to test. But it would be amazing if, you know, 6, 9 months, every child had their iron tested. Yeah. And then we would know early and prevent any of the, you know, the unhappy side effects of iron deficiency.
That makes sense, because and then that, like we said, that's the time when they're starting on cow's milk is 12 months, and then that can cause the issues, right?
Yeah. That's
very interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It's a great topic to be pushing for at the doctor's visits.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think that's all I had to ask you, but you can talk about your iron supplements because they are the best ones. Everyone who's they're just in North America right now, right? Canada and US.
I know. Yeah. So we have some online retailers that ship to the US. I think we have one online retailer that does ship internationally, but we're not totally sure which one it is. So we definitely pass them off. So I think it's VitaSave, Vitamart, and Healthy Planet all ship to the US, which is amazing. And then we do Canada. And so we're in also some of the major retailers, depending where you are. So Thrifties, Sobeys, Loblaws.
I didn't know you're at Loblaws. I've been driving up to Healthy Planet to get
we are, and we're in Whole Foods. We just got into Whole Foods in the summer. We were really excited about that. So, and then of course our awesome independent health food stores, we're in those as well. They're amazing partners.
Yeah, and they're good. People that work there are usually trained in nutrition.
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah, they can give you a good vitamin, what do you call it, regime.
Yes. No, it's always great. And, you know, we're lucky we get to also train with the staff at the health food stores. It's kind of harder in the bigger stores because then the staff turnover and there's not as many dedicated to the certain aisle, but it's always great to go to a health food store and get to have a whole conversation about everything.
Yeah, people that work there are usually pretty into it. Right?
Yes, they are.
Working there for a reason.
And then we also have some awesome checklists on our website if people are thinking, you know, am I deficient? What do I look for? So on KidStarNutrients.com, we have checklists for adults and for kids and kind of some reasons why you could be iron deficient. So you could take that to your doctor too and say, you know, I hit every one of these points.
Yeah.
You know, what can we do to make me feel better?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point too. Yeah. And just one of the many deficiencies that is linked to behaviors like hyperactivity, inattentiveness, impulsivity. If you go to my website, actually, if you're not on my email list yet, you can sign up and you'll get sent my past few master classes. And one of them is all about deficiencies. So it goes over the top 5 deficiencies of ADHD because it's not just iron.
It's true. It's very true. I know I was on your, I follow you, and I was watching your, the food coloring one. And I thought to myself, oh, yes, this is me right now. I'm planning a birthday party for 8-year-olds and we're making gingerbread houses. Well, okay. So of course I'm going to see what can I do? Where can I pick things up? And then every single like pre-made or preset, you know, it's going to be 10 kids. I was like, do I have time to make homemade icing sugar? No. Well, every ingredient in everything, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's killing me. I keep putting things back and I'm like, okay, Caitlin, you don't have enough time to make this.
I know. Sometimes you just have to suck it up and have a bad after. If your kid does react to food color, that's just going to be a rough afternoon after.
It is, yeah.
But luckily there are Smarties. I don't know if people know this, but Smarties, the flat M&Ms, they don't have the artificial coloring anymore. That's like the big main brand now that you can actually get.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, if you can put red and green, and Bulk Barn has red and green Smarties.
Very true. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. There's one sub you can make.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But no, it's good information. So
yeah. Okay. So if anyone has any questions about iron, supplementing, iron and ADHD, other deficiencies in ADHD, just pop them below afterward. And then either me or Caitlin or a combination of us will answer them for you.
That sounds perfect. Well, thank you so much, Shawna. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a
great day.
What time is it there? 11.
Oh,
have a good
I think it's morning-ish.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
See ya.